Hello everyone, you have come to Tata Comic Preview channel. Let read together. Have fun. Sheng had not made a move since the beginning. After his grand microscopic armillary sphere was damaged, he had lost the ability to fight against these powerful beings. He suddenly spoke, Li Yunxiao, where's your saint artifact? Take it out and let everyone hide inside. We'll owe you a favor. Yunxiao's face was also very unsightly. The Divine Realm tablet had lost all its spirit chi, and it was almost an empty shell. He was not sure if it could withstand the attack of a martial emperor using a 9th-tier mystic weapon. You still have the face to tell me this? If it weren't for your armillary sphere, my Divine Realm tablet wouldn't have lost all its spiritual chi. Now, I'm in a dilemma. You've only lost all your spiritual essence, Sheng laughed bitterly, but mine has been completely crushed by you. Don't worry, he's only a 1-star martial emperor. With this half-finished 9th-tier profound artifact, it's impossible for him to break open your saint artifact space. If I manage to escape today, I'll definitely return this favor. Return? After entering my profound weapon space, your life and death will be completely up to me. Do you think I'll let you go? Yunxiao's eyes turned cold, and they flickered. There are no eternal enemies in this world, Sheng laughed. I think we can turn from enemies to friends. Yunxiao's heart jolted. He had never thought about turning enemies into friends, but after entering the Divine Realm tablet, the life and death of these great demons would be under his control. At that time, he could decide how to deal with them. At the thought of this, he sneered and said, if you have the guts, you can come in. He conjured an art with one hand, and light began to appear between his brows. Feiyang was very curious. Under the suppression of his powerful aura, these people in front of him could still talk and laugh, as if they didn't put him in their eyes at all. He also didn't know what the saint artifact the other party mentioned was, but he was very curious about what other means these people had to resist his 5 elements beast controlling ring. Stop. Just as Yunxiao was about to summon the Divine Realm tablet, a cold cry suddenly came from the sky. Under the 5-colored light of the 5 elements beast taming ring, the space kept shrinking. A flash of lightning came, and gradually a faint figure emerged. It was Qingzhu. Its cold eyes swept across everyone. You're about to die, and you're still in the mood for infighting, he said with a grave expression. You are the spiritual body of the divine tree? The Zhang Shaotian frowned. Qingzhu's entire body flickered with electric arcs, as if it had consumed a great deal of energy to come in from the outside. It coldly said, you activated the heaven and earth chessboard, so I couldn't get in. Although I don't know how you broke the go arrangement, now that disaster is imminent, you're still showing off your power here. What do you mean? Zhang Shaotian asked coldly. He had seen Little Green's cultivation level. Even if it joined the battle, it would not be his match. However, he was experienced and steady, so he was not in a hurry to attack. Qingzhu's face was full of worry. The power of the throne, the immortal mountain, has already started to activate. The 4 seasons are rotating under its control. It's already late autumn outside. If it's winter, then the law of winter quietus will kill all living beings in the formation. Feiyang frowned and snorted, what are you acting like? Aren't you in charge of this formation? Qingzhu's eyes were cold as it said, if I could control the power of the formation, do you think you would still be alive? Feiyang was startled and immediately fell silent. Thinking about it, the power of the formation had far exceeded his expectations. If the other party could really control it, they would have been killed in seconds. You mean, after the power of the unaging mountain is activated, there will only be 1 season, and it will no longer enter a cycle? Yunxiao asked in surprise. Not bad. Little Qing said in a deep voice, this is the most powerful killing move that the king-level master set up in the past. It was to maintain the perfection of his formation. Once someone destroys it, the unaging mountain will gather all its power and trigger the rule of the earth winter has arrived. Unless someone can resist the power of the rule, they will die without a doubt. Yunxiao's face flickered, and he lost his previous calm. Even when the 5 elements beast taming ring appeared, he did not have such an ugly look on his face. Rule force could be large or small. For example, when a sacred skill was used, the rules that could be added to the martial skill were very limited. When a martial sovereign condensed it, it would be earth-shattering, enough to overturn rivers and seas, and change stars. The higher one's cultivation was, the stronger the power of regulation one could use. However, if one were to use a 9th-tier top-grade profound-level weapon in addition to the 4 seasons boundary array, even a peak martial supreme would find it difficult to escape from such a powerful array that could draw out the laws of Earth. Feiyang seemed to have realized the seriousness of the problem, and his face turned extremely ugly. According to what you said, we're dead for sure. The great demons who were listening quietly at the side were also shocked. They were all existences at the peak of the martial supreme realm in the past. Naturally, they knew the severity of the situation. Sheng, on the other hand, gave Yunxiao a complicated look and frowned. Yunxiao understood what he meant and shook his head slightly. Sheng was obviously asking him if the Divine Realm tablet could withstand the crushing power of the rule of Earth. He himself thought it was unlikely. Yunxiao was completely sure that he could not stop it, unless the Divine Realm tablet was completely activated at this moment, and the 4 major territories were fully opened. Then, it would be a combination no weaker than the 4 Seasons enchantment and the Unaging Mountain, and there would be no need to worry about hiding in it. In the current situation, the Divine Realm tablet could only be destroyed along with the descent of the rules. There's still a chance of survival, Qingzhu said coldly, but I'm not sure if I can survive. But if I don't fight for it, there's no hope at all. He looked at Feiyang, and his eyes fell on the 5 elements beast collar in the sky. A trace of anger flashed through his eyes. Although he was not a rat emperor, he had gotten along very well with these spiritual rats over the countless years. At this moment, seeing the familiar figures being controlled by others, he was also extremely angry. If he didn't need to borrow the power of his fief, he would have turned hostile and killed him on the spot. Feiyang also seemed to have noticed something, and with a casual point, he put away the 5 elements beast taming ring and stood with his hands behind his back. Tell me, what do you mean by vitality? If the situation is really as you say, I can't think of any way to survive. Everyone, please follow me, Qing said. He performed a hand seal in the air, and a passage appeared in the space in front of him. The light from the outside shot in. The crowd followed him out. Feiyang was neither servile nor overbearing, and these people could not escape his hands no matter what. They had to understand the current situation first. He pointed out his finger and dispelled the emperor qi of the 9 heavens around Shuyao. Shuyao opened his eyes. He had heard everything just now. His face was extremely cold and he followed the crowd out without saying a word. Below Mountain was a land of decay. The autumn wind swept past, and the yellow leaves flew in the sky. Endless fallen trees rustled down, revealing the mournfulness of the entire mountain. When everyone arrived at the peak of the mountain, Qingzhu began to cast all kinds of spells into the sky. The dark clouds gradually dispersed, and the sky began to change. However, no matter how the sky changed, the autumn in the mountain became more and more intense, as if it was going to be winter soon. This is the seal of the swan and eye? Yunxiao's eyes were filled with surprise as he looked at the symbols and all kinds of stripes that were gradually appearing in the sky. They looked like a blanket with a complicated pattern, quietly floating above him, swaying up and down. If it were not for little Qing's qi, they would have disappeared in a flash. Qingzhu finally revealed a smile, but it was still ugly. That's right, it's a spatial seal. In addition, when Wuzi was setting up the barrier here, he didn't even discover it. How is that possible? Feiyang was shocked and cried out. Could it be an ancient seal? In this world, who can hide from the king-level master's seal? It's not an ancient seal, but it's been there for thousands of years, Qing said. Yi Fan's expression changed drastically. At this moment, a strange power seemed to come down from the seal, calling him. That faintly discernible qi activity response became extremely intense at this moment. Big brother Yunxiao. Yi Fan called out nervously, his eyes filled with panic. Yunxiao's face changed drastically, and his heart was filled with shock. He had understood what Yi Fan wanted to convey. Noah's ship was in this seal. Yunxiao turned his face slightly and gave Tang Jia a sidelong glance. He saw that Tang Jia also had an unusually terrified look on his face, and his body seemed to be trembling slightly, trying to hide his nervousness. Thousands of years old. That era is not too far away from now. Are there any peerless figures? Feng Yi frowned. Suddenly, he seemed to have thought of something and his expression changed drastically. However, he could not believe it and shook his head with a bitter smile. Qing Zhu glanced at him and said indifferently, "Since you've already thought of it, why don't you dare to believe it?" What? Feng Yi's face changed again, revealing an extremely shocked expression. He said in fear, "You know what I'm thinking? Could this place really be a kasaya?" Feng Yi? What are you thinking about? Che Shuyao frowned. He's actually so moved. Gulp. Feng Yi felt his throat become extremely dry. He swallowed a mouthful of saliva and looked at Qing's expression of certainty. He was completely stunned and his mind went blank. This made Che Shuyao frown even more and he said, "For thousands of years, there hasn't been any great figures except for Yi Nantian and Gu Qingqing." Not bad. Qing Zhu glanced at him, its eyes cold as it spat out, "This is the space seal that Yi Nantian set up. This is the space seal that Yi Nantian set up." Qing's words were like thunder, instantly ringing in everyone's ears. Even though Yunxiao already knew about it, he was still shocked, and the look in his eyes grew even more solemn. Apart from a few great demons who only frowned slightly, the rest of the people all had their mouths wide open, not knowing what was going on. Yi Nantian's space seal. Che Shuyao felt that his brain had stopped working. He stammered and his mouth was so wide open that a watermelon could be stuffed in. Feni felt his breathing become a little rapid, and he said, "Then what does this mean? Could it be that there's a Noah inside?" Qing nodded. "That's right," she said indifferently. "The supreme-grade mystic artifact, Noah's ship, is sealed in here." Although they had already guessed it, it still made everyone suck in a breath of cold air. It was difficult for them to calm down. They only felt the blood flowing faster in their bodies, and they were so excited that they could not control themselves. "You have such a big secret, why are you telling us?" Even Feni, which had always been steady, became somewhat incoherent, only feeling disbelief. They had spread false news, but they didn't expect it to become true in the end. This made them feel that it was too dramatic and unacceptable. On the contrary, Yunxiao gradually regained his calm after the shock. He had 2 supreme-grade profound-level weapons. Although he did not mind having too many of them, it was not as strong as the others. Qing Zhu looked at him coldly and said, "Now that the barrier is about to activate the laws of Earth, you won't even be able to keep your life, so what are you so excited about?" This immediately made everyone calm down. They could feel the desolated power of the yellow leaves in the sky, as if the world was about to change. Feni, that was still doubtful at first, after knowing that you sealed Noah's ship, no longer had any doubts about the 4 seasons of the unaging mountain. "What did you mean when you said there was a glimmer of hope?" Everyone perked up their ears to listen, as this was a matter of life and death for everyone. Little Qing raised her head and looked at the giant seal that was flashing in the sky. Her eyes were filled with respect as she said, "Behind this seal is a mysterious space. As long as we can break it together and hide in it, we should be able to escape this disaster." Yunxiao sensed the magnificent power of the array and said with a frown, "If this space was set up by Yi Nantian, its defensive power is even stronger than the 4 seasons ageless mountain. If he has the power to break the seal, we won't have to be afraid of the 4 seasons barrier." "That's right," Qing said, "the seal's power is stronger than the 4 seasons barrier. However, I've discovered a pattern over the past thousands of years. Every day, the seal is at its weakest at the hour of Een within 24 hours, and there will still be artifact accumulations vibrating out. Een hour? We can't tell the time within the 4 seasons barrier. God knows how long we have left." Funny frowned. "Based on the time from last time, there's still about 2 hours left," Qing said. He was silent for a moment before he said, "And I'm also relying on the tool accumulation that has been spreading out over the past thousands of years to be able to take form." His eyes were full of respect. Apparently, he was very grateful to Yinantian. Everyone's heart trembled, and they fell silent. The unparalleled expert's peerless elegance was worthy of the admiration of every person who pursued the martial Tao tirelessly. Yi Fan's blood was boiling in his body. The people of the Temple of Holy Fire clenched their fists and their bodies trembled. The prestige left behind by their ancestors had intimidated an entire era, but their unfilial descendants had not even made a name for themselves on the continent. Suddenly, a brutal aura came over. The Rat Emperor's huge body gradually appeared on the peak of the mountain. His whole body was filled with monstrous killing intent. He stared at Finny, and the fierce light in his eyes seemed to have materialized. The Fief Lord's eyes lit up. He looked at the Rat Emperor greedily and licked his lips. The aura on his body spread out faintly, as if he wanted to capture it. "Don't make a move." Qing Zhu's eyes flashed with a stern look as it shouted, "If we interfere with the breaking of the seal, no one will be able to live. If someone wants to make a move now, I'll show him what I'm capable of." Fati's body froze. He naturally didn't care about little Qing's threat, but the 4 seasons of the unaging mountain were indeed a matter of life and death. One more person meant one more hope. As long as he could hide in the space, who would be able to escape from his palm? Thinking of this, he calmed down and stared at the Rat Emperor coldly. He showed a contemptuous and disdainful look towards the killing intent of the Rat Emperor. Qing Zhu frowned, but it had to borrow the power of its fief, otherwise it would not be able to break the seal. "Rat Emperor, how are the 2 of them?" "No," the Rat Emperor said. "It's still locked in that space and suppressed by the power of the unaging mountain. It can't get out at all." "It's a pity," Qing sighed, "the chances of success would have been higher if they joined. In that case, we can only let them stay there and wait for them to be annihilated." Everyone's hearts moved. They didn't know what was going on, but they thought that it was probably someone else who had intruded, so they didn't think too much about it. "Take a look at these pills and see which ones are useful. Try to recover your strength in the shortest time possible." After taking the Tianshui soul-restoring pill and snatching a lot of good things, Yunxiao slowly calmed his mind and began to regulate his breathing. Everyone in the Temple of Holy Fire and Tangjia were too excited to calm down. They could only half close their eyes and breathe quietly. Suddenly, a powerful presence flew over from afar and landed on the mountain peak in everyone's shock. After sweeping his gaze over the crowd, he said, "Is everyone here?" "Ngu Duong Yu." The Feng Yi's expression changed, and a faint killing intent appeared on his body. For some reason, he couldn't help but want to kill this person the moment he saw him. If it wasn't for his mischief, his 5-element beast taming ring would have been successfully refined long ago. This person was Ngu Duongyu. His face was still pale, but he smiled teasingly. However, his smile was a little bitter. "I'm just here to be a bystander, but I've actually fallen into a life and death situation. Why is my life so bitter? How's your recovery going?" Qingzhu opened its eyes. Ngu Duongyu said bitterly, "About 20 to 30%. Also, all of my profound level weapons have been destroyed. I don't have any decent ones. Someone can give me one at the last minute." "I've never used profound level weapons," Qing said indifferently. "If any of you have an extra one, you can give it to him." "Myriad Treasures Store?" Yunxiao gave him a look and said, "He looks a little familiar, but I can't recall who he is. If you don't mind, I have a few that you don't need." Ngu Duongyu rolled his eyes at him and said, "Trash that even Wuzongs can't use, are you going to give me this kasaya?" His voice suddenly stopped, and his mouth slowly opened in shock. Ngu Duongyu's voice suddenly stopped, and its mouth was wide open, and its eyes were almost popping out. A delicate ancient bell appeared in Yunxiao's hand. It was small and cute, and the artifact aura it exuded shocked him. He immediately recognized that it was a 9th-tier mystic artifact. "This ancient bell is ringing." He was extremely excited and stepped forward to take it. With a flip of his hand, Yunxiao put it back into his body. Rolling his eyes, he said, "What are you doing? Who are you? Do I know you well?" Nguduangyu was stunned for a moment before it smiled apologetically and said, "Little brother, I'm the sunfish boat of the myriad treasures store. Where did you get that ancient bell? Show it to me, it might be worth a lot." Everyone's face was black, and they were all drenched in cold sweat. Was Nguduangyu really a martial sovereign of the 9 heavens? How could he be so shameless? Yunxiao gave him a sidelong glance and snorted, "It's none of your business whether it's valuable or not. Also, you dare to call Big Brother in front of me? You must be tired of living." His tone was cold, as if he really wanted to take the other's life. Nguduangyu was stunned. A martial arts grandmaster said that he was tired of living, which made him unable to react in time. He even suspected that he had heard wrongly. He dug his ears and said, "What did you just say?" Yunxiao took a step forward, pointed his middle finger at the man's nose, and said loudly, "I said you're tired of living, don't you understand? I'll give you a profound level weapon and you can just use it. Do you think you can use a 9th tier profound level weapon with your trashy cultivation of a 1-star martial emperor?" A light flashed in his hand, and a shining sword stabbed into the ground. It was a rank 7 sword, the one he had found among the remains of the Flying Frost sect. He said coldly, "It's up to you to use it or not." "You're so silly." Nguduangyu looked at the 7th grade sword and was a little confused. It said awkwardly, "You know I'm a martial supreme and you still dare to talk to me like this?" Femi couldn't help but laugh. He was happy to see the sunfish boat being defeated, but his eyes were cold as he said, "This kid's name is Li Yunxiao, and he's always been very strong. When I break the seal and escape this disaster, I'll see why he's so strong." Li Yunxiao. The sunfish boat's expression suddenly changed, and it said in shock, "The city lord of Yanwu, Li Yunxiao? The city lord of Yanwu?" The fiend's eyes also flashed with surprise, the place where the spiritual energy leaked out of Mount Meru? The city of Yanwu that Tianqin Li Huaqi personally guaranteed? The leakage of spiritual energy from Mount Meru, and the simultaneous arrival of Li Huaqi and Yao Jinliang in Yanwu, had caused a sensation all over the world, and the news had long spread across the continent. As soon as Yunxiao's identity was exposed, it immediately aroused the speculations of the crowd, and they all frowned. "Big Brother Yunxiao." Yifan suddenly cried out, his eyes filled with shock as he looked up into the sky. The ceiling formation suddenly became clear, and the light on it began to flash like a rainbow. A vast will was emitted. Sure. It's now." Qing shot up and flew under the ceiling formation. Feeling the vastness of the aura, its eyes were filled with solemnness and confusion. It was precisely this power that was released for 2 hours a day that allowed him to have the opportunity to leave his body and cultivate to his current realm.